Once upon a time, in a village called Nyota, everyone lived in peace and helped each other. Among its inhabitants were two childhood friends, Amani and Kito. From a young age, they were inseparable, always seen together, sharing dreams and plans for their future. They would run through the fields, play by the river, and sit under the big baobab tree, talking about what they would do when they grew up. Amani's childhood was filled with the warmth and wisdom of her grandmother, who taught her the art of cooking. Her grandmother was known throughout Nyota for her delicious meals, and she passed down her secrets to Amani. Together, they would gather herbs and spices, and Amani learned how to blend them to create wonderful flavors. These cooking lessons were not just about food, they were moments of bonding and learning, filled with stories and laughter. As the years passed, Amani grew into a woman of stunning beauty. Her grace and kindness were unmatched, and she became renowned throughout the region. Wealthy men from far and wide came to Nyota, hoping to win her hand in marriage. But Amani's heart belonged to Kito. Despite his humble means, Kito had always been her best friend, her confidant, and her first love. Their bond was unbreakable, and soon they were married in a joyous ceremony, celebrated by the entire village. The early days of their marriage were filled with happiness. Amani and Kito were inseparable, just as they had been in their childhood. They worked together, laughed together, and dreamed together. Amani's cooking, a skill honed under her grandmother's guidance, became a central part of their life. She would prepare meals that brought joy to their home and the village. But as time went on, Kito began to feel the weight of his insecurities. Everywhere they went, men admired Amani's beauty. They praised her, gave her gifts, and it made Kito feel threatened and jealous. He started to change, becoming more controlling and possessive, though Amani remained as loving and loyal as ever. One fateful day, while Kito was at the palm wine seller's house, he met a man named Jabari. Kito frequented the palm wine house more often these days, trying to drown his insecurities and jealousy in the sweet, intoxicating drink. He would sit for hours, brooding over how the other men admired Amani, feeling his inadequacies grow with each cup he drank. Jabari was a merchant, dressed in fine clothes, and he exuded an air of wealth and confidence. He told grand stories of distant lands and incredible riches, captivating the patrons of the palm wine house. Kito, feeling small and inadequate, was drawn to Jabari's tales like a moth to a flame. The stories of riches and adventure seemed like a lifeline to him, a way to prove his worth. Kito often complained to everyone who cared to listen at the palm wine seller's house. "Men are flocking like flies around my wife," he would say, his voice thick with frustration. "I'm tired and mad with jealousy. Every day it's someone new, admiring her, giving her gifts. How am I supposed to compete with that?" The other patrons would nod sympathetically, but they were weary of his constant complaints. Among them was Jabari, a wealthy merchant who had been listening intently. Sensing Kito's desperation, Jabari saw an opportunity. One evening, after Kito had finished another round of complaints, Jabari leaned in closer. "Kito," he said, his voice smooth and persuasive, "I can see how much this troubles you. But what if I told you that you could become rich beyond your wildest dreams?" Kito looked at Jabari, curiosity and skepticism mingling in his eyes. "What do you mean?" he asked. Jabari glanced around to ensure no one else was listening and then lowered his voice. "There are people who would pay a fortune for a woman as beautiful as your wife, Amani. If you sold her, you could have all the wealth you desire." At first, Kito was horrified by the idea. The thought of betraying Amani, the woman who loved him dearly, seemed unthinkable. "How could I do such a thing?" he muttered, more to himself than to Jabari. But Jabari's words kept echoing in his mind, and the lure of wealth and power began to consume him. "Just think about it, Kito," Jabari continued. "All the riches you could ever want. You wouldn't have to worry about those other men ever again. You would be the most powerful man in Nyota." Days turned into nights as Kito wrestled with his conscience. His jealousy and greed started to overshadow his love for Amani. He would lie awake at night, the promise of riches tormenting him. He envisioned a life of luxury, free from the shadows of other men's admiration for Amani. Finally, unable to resist the lure of wealth, he devised a plan. He told Amani that they should journey to a neighboring village to see a healer who could help them with their childlessness. Amani, trusting Keto completely, agreed without hesitation. She was hopeful that this trip might bring them closer together and heal the growing rift in their relationship. As they traveled through the dense forest, they were ambushed by kidnappers. Keto pretended to fight them off, yelling and screaming as Amani was taken away. He returned to the village in tears, telling a tale of how they had been attacked and how he had fought valiantly but failed to save his wife. The village was thrown into turmoil. The people searched tirelessly, combing the forests and surrounding areas for days, but Amani was nowhere to be found. Soon after, Keto became inexplicably wealthy. He was paid handsomely by Jabari, who kept his promise of riches. Keto now walked around the village wearing fine clothes and expensive jewelry, things he had never owned before. His humble hut was transformed into a large house, filled with beautiful decorations and luxurious furniture. The villagers were astonished by Keto's sudden wealth. They couldn't understand how he had become so rich so quickly. Curious and suspicious, they began to ask him questions about where his money had come from. Keto, prepared with a lie, told them a story. While searching for Amani in the forest, he said, I stumbled upon a hidden treasure. It was buried under a big tree, covered in dirt and leaves. I believe it was a gift from our ancestors, a reward for my bravery and sorrow. He spoke with such conviction that many of the villagers believed him. Keto's tale spread throughout Nyota, and people began to look at him with admiration. They praised his courage and felt proud to have him as part of their community. Keto, though, was plagued by guilt. He knew that his wealth was not a gift from the ancestors, but a result of his betrayal. Yet, the allure of riches kept him silent. Despite his newfound wealth, Keto found no peace. The memories of Amani and his betrayal haunted him. He could not sleep without seeing her face, filled with trust and love. Each piece of gold he spent felt like a heavy burden, a reminder of the terrible price he had paid for his fortune. The village, however, continued to honor him. They celebrated his discovery, holding feasts in his name. Keto attended these feasts, smiling and pretending to be happy, but inside, he was torn apart by guilt and regret. Meanwhile, Amani was taken far away and sold to a wealthy merchant in a distant land. The journey was long and tiring, but Amani remained strong, remembering her grandmother's teachings about resilience and hope. When they finally arrived, the bustling city was unlike anything she had ever seen. The streets were crowded with people, and the air was filled with the scents of exotic spices and foods. Recognizing her cooking skills, the merchant quickly made her his favorite and assigned her to work in his kitchen rather than the fields. Amani's culinary talent soon became renowned, and she won the admiration of everyone in the merchant's household. She prepared meals that were so delicious that word of her cooking spread quickly. Unlike the other servants who toiled in the fields under the scorching sun, Amani spent her days in the cool kitchen, creating mouth-watering dishes. She used the skills she had learned from her grandmother, combining different herbs and spices to make every meal special. The merchant, impressed by her cooking skills, quickly realized her value and assigned her to prepare meals for important guests. One day, the prince of the land, Prince Malik, visited the merchant. The visit was intended to be a brief stop on his tour of the kingdom, but fate had other plans. During his stay, Prince Malik fell gravely ill. The royal physicians were summoned immediately and did everything in their power to treat him, but his condition only worsened. Amani, who had learned about herbs and natural remedies from her mother back in Nyota, saw the desperation and worry in the household. She approached the merchant with a request. Please, she said, let me try to help the prince. I have knowledge of herbs that might aid his recovery. The merchant, desperate to save his important guest and impressed by Amani's confidence, agreed. Amani set to work, carefully preparing a healing broth using her knowledge of medicinal herbs. She stayed by Prince Malik's side, tending to him day and night. Her dedication was unwavering, and she gently coaxed him to eat and drink the remedies she prepared. As days passed, the prince began to show signs of improvement. His strength slowly returned, and the color came back to his cheeks. Prince Malik, during his moments of lucidity, noticed Amani's tireless care and her gentle, soothing presence. He was deeply grateful for her kindness and the skills that had saved his life. "Who is this woman?" he asked the merchant one day as he regained his strength. "She is Amani," the merchant replied, "a remarkable woman with unmatched skills in healing and a heart full of compassion." When Prince Malik had fully recovered, he requested to speak with Amani privately. "Amani," he began, "you have saved my life with your knowledge and kindness. I am deeply indebted to you. I would like you to come with me to the palace. There, you can use your talents to help many more people." Amani was surprised by the prince's request, but agreed, seeing an opportunity to do good and perhaps find a new purpose in her life. She accompanied Prince Malik to the palace, where her gentle nature and unmatched skills quickly endeared her to the royal family. The palace was magnificent, with tall towers and beautiful gardens. The king and queen were impressed by her wisdom and compassion, and soon, Amani was not just a servant but a trusted member of the household. Time passed, and Amani's bond with Prince Malik grew stronger. They spent many hours talking about their dreams, their fears, and their hopes for the future. Amani's kindness and intelligence captivated Malik, and she found in him a kindred spirit who valued her for who she was, not just for her beauty or her skills. They would walk in the gardens, discussing ways to help the people of the kingdom and sharing stories from their pasts. The entire kingdom noticed the change in Prince Malik. He was happier, more at peace, and more dedicated to his duties. It was clear to everyone that Amani had a profound influence on him. The prince often sought her advice on matters of state and personal affairs, valuing her perspective and insight. One evening, as the sun set over the Grand Palace gardens, Prince Malik and Amani walked among the blooming flowers. The air was filled with the sweet scent of jasmine, and the sky was painted in hues of pink and orange. Prince Malik stopped and took Amani's hand, his eyes filled with sincerity and love. "Amani," he said, his voice soft but steady, "you have brought light and joy into my life. Your kindness saved me, and your love has transformed me. I cannot imagine my life without you. Will you marry me and be my princess?" Amani's heart swelled with joy and love. She looked into Malik's eyes, seeing the depth of his feelings reflected there. "Yes, Prince Malik," she replied, her voice trembling with emotion. "I will marry you and stand by your side forever." Their wedding was a grand celebration, uniting not just two people, but the hopes and dreams of a kingdom. Amani became a beloved princess, ruling with wisdom and compassion alongside Prince Malik. Together they brought prosperity and peace to their land, and their love story became a legend told for generations. Years passed, and Prince Malik and Princess Amani ruled their kingdom with wisdom and compassion. Their love for each other grew stronger with each passing day, and they became beloved by their people. Despite her happiness, Amani never forgot her homeland, Nyota. She often thought of the village, the people, and the life she had left behind. After the passing of the king, Prince Malik was crowned king, and Amani became the queen. With her new title and responsibilities, Amani's thoughts turned even more to Nyota. She felt a deep longing to see her homeland and the people she had left behind. She knew she had to return, if only for a visit, to find closure and perhaps bring some peace to her heart. One evening, as they sat in the palace gardens, Amani turned to King Malik. "My king," she began softly, "I have been blessed with so much here, but my heart longs to see my homeland once more. I wish to return to Nyota and visit my village. Will you grant me this favor?" King Malik, loving and supportive, smiled warmly. "Of course, my love, we will go together, and you shall return to Nyota in a grand style, as befits a queen." A grand procession was arranged. Amani and King Malik, accompanied by a retinue of attendants, set out for Nyota. The journey was long, but Amani's heart was light with anticipation. As they neared the village, memories flooded back, and she felt a mixture of joy and apprehension. When they arrived in Nyota, the villagers were astonished to see Amani, now a queen, returning in such splendor. They gathered around, eager to hear her story and to welcome her back. Amani stood before them, her heart full, and began to speak. "My dear people of Nyota," she began, her voice carrying the strength of her journey and the warmth of her love for them. "I have traveled far and experienced much since I left this village. I have faced hardships and found unexpected blessings. Today I return to you not just as Amani, but as your queen." She recounted her incredible journey. She spoke of the hardships she faced, the kindness she found, and how destiny had led her to become queen. The villagers listened in rapt attention, their emotions a mixture of joy, sadness, and pride. Finally, she addressed Quito directly, who stood at the edge of the crowd, shame and guilt etched on his face. She looked directly into Quito's eyes and began, "Quito, I knew you planned the kidnapping. I knew you sold me to slavery for financial gain. I overheard the kidnappers you colluded with discussing how much they paid you while they were transporting me. They laughed about how desperate you were for wealth and how easily you betrayed me." The crowd gasped, their shock turning to outrage. Amani continued, her eyes never leaving Quito's. "Despite the pain you caused me, I have found it in my heart to forgive you. Because of your actions, destiny led me to where I am today. It was not an easy path, but it made me who I am." The villagers, however, could not so easily forgive Quito. Enraged by his betrayal and the suffering he caused, they chased him out of the village, banishing him forever. Quito fled, his wealth and ambitions reduced to nothing, left to ponder the consequences of his greed and jealousy. Amani stayed in Nyota for some time, sharing her wisdom and experiences. She helped her village flourish, ensuring that the bonds of trust and love were strengthened. Her story became a legend, a tale of resilience, forgiveness, and the transformative power of destiny. When it was time to return to her kingdom, Amani left with a heart full of peace, knowing she had brought closure to her past and hope to her people. She continued to rule with grace and compassion, forever remembered as the queen who rose from humble beginnings and never forgot her roots. Back in the kingdom, Amani and Malik continued to lead with justice and kindness. They built schools, hospitals, and community centers, ensuring that their people had the resources they needed to thrive. Amani's influence spread far and wide, and her story was told across the land as an inspiration to all. As the years passed, Amani and Malik had children of their own, raising them with the same values of compassion, integrity, and humility that had guided their own lives. The kingdom prospered under their rule, and the legacy of Queen Amani lived on long after they were gone. The tale of Amani and her journey from Nyota to the throne became a cherished legend, a testament to the power of forgiveness, the strength of the human spirit, and the enduring bond between a queen and her people. And in Nyota, the story of their beloved Amani was told for generations, reminding everyone that true greatness comes not from wealth or power, but from kindness, courage, and the unwavering belief in the goodness of others.